Welcome back to Zen Gen Pet Specialist. Today we are back with Stephen, and he is here to talk about cats. And he is from website is cat-behavior-help.com. If you want to go check out Stephen, I'll put the details in the description below so you can check out his website. Stephen is an expert on cat behavior, so he's here to share with us some information on cat behavior. Welcome, Stephen. Welcome back.
Thank you. It's good as always to be back, Jen, and good to see you.
Yeah, you too. You too. So today we are going to talk about there's a breakdown of three different categories of cat behavior. And today we're going to tackle the first one. Do you just want to just kind of tell us the three different behaviors and the one that we're going to address today?
Sure. And the reason these categories are helpful is that they each point us in a different direction as to how to solve the cat behavior
Mm,
challenge that we're facing. So there's innate or instinctive behaviors, and these are behaviors that are natural to the cat, and we can't really stop them. We don't really want to stop them because that's pushing down a natural behavior. What we want to do is redirect those behaviors. And then the second type is a learned behavior. This is something that we have probably taught our cat to do. And with that sort of behavior, it's simply a question of unlearning or teaching the cat a new way of approaching this issue. And then lastly, the last category is connected to fear, anxiety, stress, or feeling conflicted, and releasing the cat from the emotion that's causing the behavior. So
awesome.
those are
Okay.
those are our three categories.
Right. And so people could probably want to stay tuned to future episodes that we're going to have because we're going to dive into each one of these separately so that people have a really good understanding of their cat, why their cat does what their cat's doing, and then how to solve that problem. Right. So let's start today. We're going to do innate. So do you want to just describe to us what
Yep.
innate behavior is, like what the definition of that is, and then maybe some examples of what that is?
Sure. And so again, innate behavior is a behavior that is programmed into the cat as part of its evolutionary development. As an example, cats scratch. And in nature, they scratch. They scratch on trees, and they scratch to stretch tendons, to sharpen their claws. People sometimes think that scratching a scratching post is to dull the claw. It's actually not. It helps
Mm.
keep the claw length in check, but it doesn't dull it. Some nails get super sharp. Some are naturally not as sharp. They serve different purposes. But cats need to do this. They need to release nail material that gets caught, little quarter moon sheaths.
Yeah, I've seen
They
those.
want to
So
stretch their tendons, right?
it's like a shedding of the
Yeah, they
nail.
collect. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, and that's annoying to them. So they shed those. They also have scent glands in their paws, and they're marking with scent. Those are all those reasons why a cat might do that.
Okay. So
And
I
is there a list? Yeah.
I got we got a new couch in last fall and I was paranoid of my new couch. I thought my cats are going to just love this. So, and I didn't actually, my cats are indoor outdoor cats. And so I don't have a scratch post in the house because I just go outside to do that. Right.
Ah,
But the new
right.
couch came and they were like, king, ready, right? They were at it. And I thought, oh, so I actually went out and I made my own scratching post, which I was really excited about. And what I did, I actually covered my couch, the corners, because they like the corners, with tinfoil. I had read that this was cats don't like tinfoil. And this worked. This kept them away. But then when I brought in the scratching post, I covered it in kitty or catnip, and oh, did
Hmm.
they just went right to the scratching post. They had less interest, almost no interest now in my couch, and they love their scratching post. So that's and I wondered if they were like, oh, this is a new piece of furniture, I need to put my scent on it too, right? Like it's fun, it feels good to rip at, but I wondered if there was a scenting kind of behavior behind that.
Yeah, very likely. And all those things combined temporarily turned your new sofa into a magnet.
Yeah.
And what you did was so perfect because instead of turning it into a magnet, you turned it into this kind of yucky thing from their point of view, and then you turn the scratching post into the magnet. And
Mm-hmm.
if you combine, if you also give out treats, and play with the cat at the post. So they get all their needs met at the post. It becomes this happy place of activity, fun, food, scent enrichment, and it feels good. You're doing both the carrot and the stick. You know, the stick being
Right.
the tinfoil or a double-sided sticky tape at the
Oh,
furniture, and then providing all that benefit at the post.
amazing. Okay, so that's
And
some
and
great
that's
advice.
I was just going to say that's generally how we approach innate behaviors, is how to get the cat to think about this place being not the fun place for whatever the behavior is, but this place is much better.
Right. Yeah. And it worked. And it worked very quickly. And there was no, I didn't have to negatively reprimand them in any way. They just naturally were like, ooh, what's this tinfoil? I don't like it. And then I just made such a big deal over the cat scratching pole. And I made all kinds of, like, I've got rope and I've got carpet. I made it all kinds of different textures and stuff. And so they've
That
actually
sounds
almost,
great.
yeah, and they've almost destroyed it now. I obviously didn't make it very solid. It was my first time making a cat tree, but it worked great.
I
So
want to see it someday.
you know what? I will send you a
It
picture
sounds like,
because I'm very
please
proud of
do.
it.
Uh, Fantastic.
Yeah.
You know, you can also, especially if you have access to logs, logs from a
Mm.
tree, you can make a scratching post with, a log with bark, uh, and that could be a lot of fun.
That's exactly what I did. I took two logs. One of them I wrapped in really thick, like boating rope, and the other one I left bare, so it's just the bare bark that they could rip at. And then
Hmm.
I took like a milk crate and covered the milk crate in carpet, so they can actually sit in the milk crate if they want to, but they also scratch at the carpet that's on there. So they've got all the different textures. They actually use the rope side the most. They've almost, like, they're starting to shred it a little bit. They seem to really love the rope. So that was interesting. But it's
Interesting.
also the piece that I covered the most in catnip. So I don't know if that's a coincidence, but yeah, I wanted to offer them something natural, but they obviously love ripping at furniture as well, like carpet and stuff. So I made sure to
Right.
add that in there as well. That's great. So,
Great.
okay, so scratching, that's the one thing we've covered here. Let's talk a little bit about fighting or like play aggression or cat on cat fighting.
Well, yeah, sure. So there are two different maybe subcategories. The big one that I get a lot from clients is when they introduce a second cat to the home.
Mhm.
And that leads to cat on cat aggression, and the way in which we deal with that is tricky in that I find that people often, even when they read the advice that's correct, they don't quite get it.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is we do a step-by-step approach with cat introductions where we give them the opportunity to do things like scent exchange and meeting on opposite sides of the door where they can't see each other. And if their stress level's high, we try and bring the stress level down by playing on alternate sides of the door and providing food closer to the door so that they're able to eat in proximity to each other and come to expect that. But as we go through each step, the next big step being seeing each other, like by putting in baby gates or a strap that prevents the door from opening, that what people often do is they jump to the next step too quickly.
Mm.
They don't let the stress level come down far enough. And they just say things like, well, the cats were on opposite sides of the door for a week. And yeah, they were still hissing at each other, but it was a week. And it's like, no, actually, each of these steps is a test. And if they don't pass the test, they don't advance to the next step. And you
Okay.
really have to get the stress level down before you advance to the next step. And, the three basic steps being on opposite sides of the door, and you can do territory swapping and scent exchange during this, but you start with the door shut, then they see each other. And then the third step, what people think is the third step, is once they're okay looking at each other, we can just open the door and let them be together. But actually, no, because what can happen then is they get into a situation where they stare each other down. And a stare down is not good.
Mm.
So we have to continue to work with them supervised at this next stage before we just completely let them be together.
Okay.
But this is an example of another, instinctive response, because the cat is trying, the resident cat typically is trying to defend his or her territory and does not recognize the outside cat as family. Scent,
Yeah.
smell, the cat smells like a foreigner. And this is replicated in nature all the time when cats come into colonies and look to be accepted
Okay.
within the colony.
And that's something I want to ask you about. I don't typically consider cats to be pack animals. You're using the word colony, which I find interesting. Can you elaborate on that? So are cats, it's like some are not, really into being with other cats, but some will.
Well, yeah, it's a great question. And you're correct. They're not pack animals, right? They're family oriented. And
Mm.
this species of cat we find in nature, I don't know about the larger cats, it may be true with them as well, that they form associations, looser associations, where they're not family, they're not packs, they're not working together to achieve a goal, uh,
Right.
as you might find in a dog pack, but they have learned to live with each other and in a more casually cooperative way. So
Okay.
they live together, they share resources. There's dominance. Some cats are dominant, some are less so. There's a strata, um, and they exist within that framework, and it's helpful. It's useful to them
Mhm.
uh, to do this. But it requires effort. The new cat has to come in and become accepted. That means they have to respect the dominance of the top cats and learn to be accepted by being respectful.
Right. And I think too, another thing is really understanding the cat that you already have. I had a cat, Charlie, who's recently passed away, but he did not had zero interest in other cats. Completely did not want anything to do with them. Um, and I would bring other cats in, and he would be mad at me and not talk to me for a long time. But he never really warmed up to any of the other cats that we would have. He would tolerate them. He would be sleeping and they may come and sleep near him, and he would allow that. But he had no interest in, he would accept them, but he wasn't going to be friendly. He wasn't curling up with them and he wasn't playing with them. Then I have two other cats that I consider to be extremely outgoing, very friendly. They love everybody and everything that comes in. They love other cats. They love people. They love dogs. Everybody is their friend. And so it's very true that they have different personalities, and your cat may just never warm up to the idea of having other cats in the home, or you may have a cat that loves to have this colony or family of cats. So it's really about understanding your own cat first, right? With your first cat first, right? Would you agree?
Absolutely. And you speak to a really important issue, which is it's not just instinct. There is personality. There
Yeah.
is the preferences of individual cats and the choices that they want to make. And we can only go so deep into what the root cause may be. Sometimes we just have to accept it. And some cats are more nurturing. They might be more motherly or
Mm-hmm.
paternal. One of my cats, loves other cats. She loves every cat that comes into the home. Jenny, my blind girl, is much more particular, but she can learn to be friends. Uh, and so it's very individual. It's very individual, and the way in which you pick a companion cat, when people look for a cat to be a friend with their resident cat, I always urge people to look for cats with complementary personalities, which doesn't
Mm-hmm.
necessarily mean the same personality, but it means a personality that will work with the other cat. So if you have a cat who's very playful and very dominant, you might do well with a cat who's very playful but slightly submissive, right? Who won't challenge the dominance of the other cat,
Uh,
but will accept a rough and tumble life.
right.
And when you pick personalities that are not complementary to alphas, uh, just as an example, you can have trouble that can be hard to work through.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
And yeah, that makes sense because the two cats that I have now that we got when Charlie was around are extremely submissive and, as I said, very friendly. So if Charlie put his foot down and said, I'm the boss, they were like, okay, they didn't challenge him. They just, would try and headbutt him and say, well, we can be friends. And he would say, no, we can't. But they were very submissive and had no interest in fighting with him. And so it worked. There was never, ever a fight. Everybody just sort of respected each other's space. And so we all lived peacefully. But it was funny when he would be asleep, that's when they would go and they would curl up beside him and touch him. Right. And he would kind of go, meh, but he wouldn't move. And that's about as much as he would tolerate in terms of closeness or any interaction with them at all. But it was at least peaceful. And so I can see how those, are complementing each other. What you're saying, that makes a lot of sense.
Yep.
Great.
And I'm sure was a perfect match.
Yeah.
For you and for Charlie. Charlie was never going to be great friends with another cat, but your other cats worked well within his personality.
Yeah, exactly. And I think this will be helpful for anybody who wants to bring in a new cat into their home. It's just so important to follow these steps that you're suggesting because there's reason for it. And you want it to work out, right? You don't want to have to take a cat back to a shelter or return it or any of those things. So take the time. If it takes weeks, it takes weeks.
Absolutely. And, I would much prefer you pick the right cat for your cat than you call me.
Yeah.
Or surrender,
right. Yeah.
Because I deal with heartache, people who are dealing with tough introductions. And,
yeah, it's good. So something to really think about.
Oftentimes people go too quickly and then I get involved and we have to back it up and kind of start over again.
Yeah. Yeah. So there are solutions. And I recommend people just get the help, right? Don't give up. Just get the help that you need because there's professionals out there like Stephen here that can help you get through any of these problems that you might be having. Okay. So that was, different.
You're good for this too,
It's a good way to have kind of a deeper conversation with them. Okay. So that's kind of bringing that. What about play aggression? Like you use the term drive by, smacking of the, your
ankle biting.
Biting. That's that one. I love it. So yes. I think a lot of people deal with that. And so that's an innate behavior, right? So tell us a little bit about that.
Absolutely. So cats, exist on a scale of what I call the kind of confidence scale, where they are in terms of either a top level predator or a cat who thinks of themselves as prey. They're worried that there's a bigger animal that's going to hurt them. Mm-hmm. And cats who are more self-identified in whatever way that means as a confident predator are more reactive. I've had the number of clients I've had who've contacted me and said, my cat attacks me when I'm doing yoga. Well, yeah, you're doing all this stuff. And for cats, motion is, they're very highly sensitive to motion. Right? Mm. Because if we see someone running outside our window, we just see someone running. When a cat sees someone running, especially one of these confident predator cats, they see someone running and they see a turkey dinner. Yeah. That's, literally it's like the cartoon where the person changes to the golden braised turkey legs. And they can't help that. They really can't. And so if cats aren't getting their predatory needs met, and I'll speak to that briefly in a second. But if they aren't getting those needs met, then they're going to use the language that they have innate to them, mm-hmm. which is to say, oh, she looks like she's much more fun than that little cat toy that's laying over there in the corner and not moving, because she's moving. Legs going up and down during yoga or whatever it might be, or just walking through the home. And they have a predatory response and they come after you. And then what do? You go, ah, you yell, and you have a prey response. You're giving them, you might think that you're giving them a negative response, like, don't do that, but you're giving them a prey response, which is what they expect. You're going to squeal and run away. And they love that. Yeah. So you just feed into exactly what they want, and you're warm-blooded and potentially tasty. Yeah. So when a cat doesn't get enough of the three things that they need to feel satisfied in life, hunt, kill, and eat, if they don't get those three things, they get frustrated because their job, what they do when they go to work, is hunt, and the paycheck is the food. So if all we do is play with them, even people will tell me, I play with my cat all the time, and he's still coming after me. But there's no meal. He's no paycheck. So we've got to give him the payout so that he goes, oh, yeah, now I can rest. And if we just feed them and don't play with them, same problem. We have to combine it all together in the right order. If we feed them and then play with them, we're kind of waking them up right when they want to just take a nap.
Right.
And when we give them these three things, hunt, kill, eat, that's when nature tells them to take a nap so that they
Mm.
conserve calories until they're hungry again. And then they wake up and they repeat the cycle. In nature, they hunt 4, 5, 6 times a day. We only feed our cats, maybe twice a day, sometimes three or sometimes once, but rarely 4 or 5 times. So we've got to make sure, especially with some cats, that we're giving them as much as what they need to feel like they've had a good day.
Right. And this is really helpful for people who have an indoor cat. If you keep your cat indoor, it's really important to bring this process in for them because they'll feel more satisfied as an indoor cat. Absolutely.
Yep.
I love the simplicity of this, right? Like we sometimes think it's so complicated, but it really isn't. It's just like these simple little changes and education that can make a huge difference in your cat's life, their health, their longevity, and their relationship with you. That's amazing. So let's
And
talk.
and
Yeah.
ultimately, yeah,
Mhm.
I just have one final thought on that subject. It's all about communication. And by that I mean behavioral communication.
Yes.
We do something, the cat does something, the cat gets into a dialogue with us because all of a sudden they change their behavior in response to what we do. We see a positive change, and then we know that we're actually talking to the cat.
Yes, right. Then you start to see the change and you know that this is working. It's really important, right? I mean, communication is like 90% body language and it's the same with the animal kingdom, right? They're communicating through the means that they know how, the way they know how to communicate. They're not going to communicate like a human does. So we've got to kind of put ourselves in their
Right.
shoes. What is it they're trying to say, right? And again, it's just educating yourself and learning these little tips are so helpful for people and the cats for sure, right? Good. Okay. So that's some great solutions for people. Let's talk about spraying. I had a male cat once that started spraying in my house. Um, Not good, not good. So can we talk a little bit of how to deal with that? Because that really is upsetting for people.
Yeah, so it's a complicated subject, and we could devote an entire episode just to inappropriate elimination. So
Wow.
I'm going to just kind of compress it a little bit, and talk about maybe two aspects. One is going outside the litter box because of some dissatisfaction with the environment, the setup. You provided a litter box that's the size of a postage stamp, or
Mm.
requires that the cat climb up this mountain to get inside it. Or maybe you're using a very specific, interesting litter, like walnut shells, that the cat never had before in their life and never got the memo that this was going to be the change. And so they say, I'm not super happy with this. I'm going to find a happier place to go.
Mhm.
But then there's also elimination issues that are connected to territory marking and reproduction.
Mm.
And they're similar. They express themselves similarly, although the reasons are slightly different. With neutered and spayed males and females, it's more territorial based. I had a client who told me their cat was peeing in their plants.
Mm.
And plants are by windows. Windows represent the boundary of the territory for this indoor cat.
Ah.
And so my question to her was, do you see outside cats outside the windows? And she's like, oh, yeah, they're all over the place. And I'm like, well, your cat's doing the right thing. From his point of view, he's saying, hey, this is my side. You stay on that side, and I'm going to show you where the line is. And so fixing that isn't just about looking at the internal environment. It's also looking at the external environment. And sometimes people need to do things like put in motion sensitive water sprinklers that are designed for animals, and
Okay.
they're solar powered. I could, if you want, I can screen share some of these things in terms of products that we can use. But
Yeah.
the thing you have to always tackle is cleaning. If you haven't cleaned where the cat's peeing, the scent is going to bring them back, and that means a good enzyme cleaner, a black light, in a dark room. You point the black light, and if you see it glow green, then you haven't cleaned well enough and the problem won't get fixed.
Okay.
Replacing that scent with a pheromone, which is a chemical scent that cats release from their cheeks that tells them everything's okay, and they smell this through an organ in the roof of their mouth. So directly, some people use the diffusers that you plug in, but with spray marking, you really have to spray the pheromone where the cat was peeing. Okay. So cleaning, scent replacement, making sure the litter box situation is good, getting the other cats out of your front yard or your backyard as best as possible. Okay. And if you'd like, I can show you links at some point, but why don't you chime in with your thoughts?
Yeah. Another thing I want to add too is that I have had people concerned because their cat was peeing on their furniture. In fact, they were peeing on right where they would sit on their couch, and said, so first thing I go to, tell me about your kitty litter. How often are you cleaning your kitty litter? And this person said once a week. And I went, oh, okay, not good. I always recommend, and I'm sure you're going to agree with this, Stephen, every day, you got to clean that kitty. A cat they are so clean. They are a very clean animal, and they are not going to want to continue to go back to a kitty litter that's dirty. So that's the first place you want to start. You got to clean that litter every day.
Yeah. So I have a client recently who, there are a lot of things going on, but one of the things that's going on is the box is only being cleaned once every 2 or 3 days, and they have 2 cats.
Oh, not good.
And it's like, no, got to clean. I would say twice a day.
Yeah, with
Keep
2.
it super clean. Because imagine if, I hate to even provide the analogy, but think if you only flushed once every 3 days.
Yeah, you're not going to want to go. And there's multiple people. I always suggest having a kitty litter per cat. Every cat should have its own litter. I found that when I did that, my cats would urinate in one, and then they would go number 2 in the other. Like they decided that this is where we pee and this is the one we poo in, which I thought was interesting. But yeah, having multiple litters available if you have multiple cats, and cleaning that as much as you can. Yeah, for sure. And the conventional wisdom is 1 box per cat plus 1. I'm not sure you always have to go plus 1, but at least 1 box per cat, and in separate areas, because if they're next to each other, it just counts as 1 box. Right. Yes. And maybe only if you're dealing with an issue, maybe throw in that extra box, right? It might be a solution to a problem. But yeah, there's so many cats are so particular when it comes to that. They usually go to the bathroom in different places when they're outside. You watch them, they cover it up. My one cat, here's a question for you. My one cat likes to, when the other cats go to the bathroom and they don't cover it up, he goes in and he covers it up. Now I watch him outside, and he goes out and he covers the dog poo. He'll go out in the wintertime. I'll look out and he'll be out there with the snow covering up the dog poo. And now he'll grab leaves. Like he's just disgusted that, nobody's covering up the poo when he's out there doing it. Is that an innate behavior, or do you think this is sort of an OCD thing? What's going on there?
No, I think it's an expression of an innate behavior in that cats are vulnerable. Again, our cats are both predators and prey, and they're at risk of being predated upon, hunted, when they're going to the bathroom, because they're locked into a location and they're kind of frozen doing their thing. And that's why some cats don't like covered boxes. They want to be able to see, and you'll see them sometimes scan to make sure there's nothing coming after them. And I had one client recently whose cat would put her head out of the covered portion and just lean out so she could see around while she went. And so your cat who's doing this is maybe just got scent control on overdrive. He wants to make sure that no one's scent is out there bringing in a predator who could challenge them. So he's just going to I'm going to take care of everybody's business.
Yes. And he does. And we always say, thank you. Thank you for all your hard work out there. It's funny.
Charming.
Kind of cute. Yes. So I would love for you to do some of that screening with us, or screen sharing with us, of some of these products. Yep. When you were talking, particularly this one about if you have cats outside your house and having these sprinklers, that sounds interesting. So if the cats come on your property, it'll spray to keep the cats away.
It will if they get close enough to it, it'll
Okay.
spray. And what it hopefully will do is we'll teach the cat just don't go into that yard. And
Okay.
yeah, I will screen share this now. And I think it's fair to say that people who are watching this don't have to remember these products. We could link to them at the end, right?
Right.
Is
Okay.
that
Sure.
something you could do?
Yeah.
Yep. And
Sounds
by the
good.
way, I don't receive anything for your purchasing these. I have no relationship with Amazon. It's just that happens to be where I go to purchase some of this stuff. But I'm going to go ahead and screen share this now.
Mhm.
And the first thing I've got is a really great enzyme cleaner called Anti-Icky Poo. It's unscented and it eats urine. You really have to use an enzyme cleaner when you're trying to clean cat litter.
Okay.
And then next, this is a black light flashlight that detects urine in a dark room, even when you think you've cleaned it up. If it glows green, you have not cleaned adequately. And
Wow.
then this is an example of the pheromone feel away, which helps convince a cat they don't need to pee there. So you would spray this where the cat has been spraying or peeing. And then this is what you were asking about, the Scarecrow, the solar powered motion sensitive, motion activated water sprayer. And you put this in your lawn and it will do its thing. And then there's a noise and flashing light version that's a different company makes.
Okay.
That's this one. And I think I might have one more. Oh, this is Dr. Elsie's Ultra Litter Attractant. It's a herbal mixture you can put in your litter to help bring the cats to it, and it can help for sure.
Oh. Okay.
And so all of these address different aspects of the underlying concern.
Mhm.
And
Yeah, so there's
yeah,
a level of just taking the action and making some changes that need to be done to suit the cat, what the cat's needing, how to serve that, and redirect them. Right, like that's a really big word here. Cats just need to be redirected in a lot of this stuff and their behaviors by serving them in the way they need to be served for who they are and what they need to do in the life to feel satisfied. Right, it can be these problems
yep,
can be solved and I just always encourage people to take the time to research and get the help they need before giving up on their cat. Yeah.
for sure. These cats are closer to being wild animals than dogs, and
Mhm.
we need to respect that and address those issues and concerns because we have to recognize that the cat has a way of communicating that is connected to their wild nature.
Yeah.
And if we don't understand that or respect it, we've got a cat who's doing what they think is the right thing to do, and
Yeah.
they're just acting out.
Yeah.
But
Not
they're
their
not.
fault. Yeah.
It's not their fault.
Not their fault. This has been great. Thank you, Stephen. I think this has been, I know I
Oh,
learned some
sure.
things today. I didn't even know that some of these products existed. So that's helpful. Amazing stuff. I love it. Thank you for sharing. And I hope our listeners got something out of this. And we will put the links down to some of these products and your website. If anybody wants to get deeper in and figure out what's going on with their cat, they can contact you and work on that.
And I'll just say one final thing, which is what people often do, and I get this. They go to a social media site like Facebook, where there's a behavior page, and they post their question, and then people start lobbing answers at them, like throwing darts at a dartboard,
Mm.
and all of a sudden the person's got 20 different ideas as to what to do, but there's no plan.
Mm.
And that's why we need to put together a plan for people to really help them.
Yeah, it's social media is not always the best place to get the answers. And there's professionals and there's reasons that there's professionals. And so yeah, go that way, go that route. People want to help you, but it's maybe not always in the best interest of the cat either. So good. That's a good little tip there. Great. So thank you so much. And so everybody's going to want to come back again to listen to our next one, which we will talk about learned behavior in cats and how to deal with that. And that'll be a fun topic. So looking forward to that, Stephen, until we do that one. You have a
Great.
great day.
You too, and it was great to see you again.
You too. Take care.
All right. Yep. You too.